Welcome back to the show. I have got the one and only Cody Carbone sitting down with him from the Digital Chamber. You won't believe what's in store. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. And as promised, we're here. Cody from the Digital Chamber, president of the Digital Chamber. How you doing, Cody?
I'm doing well, my friend. It's great to see you. It's great to be back here. I love talking to you and I love your enthusiasm. So I'm excited. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Boy, is it. And I love sitting down with you too. Look, where do we even begin? I'll tell you where we start. First of all, the Digital Chamber just celebrated more than a decade since it was founded by Perry Ann Boring. Shout out to Perry Ann. And we'll get to that. There's some good news with her too going on right now. But you know, the Digital Chamber's work really, if somebody doesn't know, well, what does a Digital Chamber do? I'd say, well, look at the 290 plus crypto advocates that are now on Capitol Hill. And I say, welcome to the Digital Chamber, right?
It's been thrilling. I mean, 10 years. And I've only been, I've been here 3 years. So I'm a small part of it. But to see where we've come in 10 years, this technology in 2014 when the Digital Chamber started, no one was talking about this, especially on Capitol Hill. No one. And even for the last few years, very few. Slowly but surely, we've gotten more and more advocates by our side. I always tell people, yes, we're in DC, we're advocates, we're an education organization, first and foremost. We go in, we meet with these people, we try to explain to them, this is why you should care about this technology. This is why your constituents care. This is how it's going to improve the lives of Americans every day. And to see that number grow to 290, I won't be satisfied until it's every single member of Congress is a champion of our industry, and we're going to get there.
Oh man, I mean, and it's super exciting because it is a measurable metric. What you're doing is completely measurable and it's massive. And I think you're going to accomplish it. You will have, because, you think about, this next wave we're moving into of this crypto space and adoption, utility is going to be massive. And as that utility makes its way into the financial system and beyond, I think people are just going to come to learn that this is a part of it. Just like we all know what the internet is, and none of us have to explain that, right?
No, and I bet you most people in Congress who have been regulating the internet for 20 years can't explain how the internet works. And that's where we'll get with blockchain technology, digital assets. They won't be able to explain it, but they'll know it has utility. They'll know it has applications that their constituents are using every single day. This will be a fabric of the American way of life in the economy, in supply chains, in entertainment, you name it. Blockchain technology, digital assets will be a part of where our country is going, where our world is going. And every single member of Congress, every politician in the administration, they need to get on board with this. And we're getting there slowly. We're starting to address all those misconceptions, throw those bad headlines out. We've moved past that. Now we're talking about exactly as you mentioned, Brad, the utility. We're getting folks on our side, and we've got a ton of stuff ahead of us.
And speaking of all of this great stuff that's in front of us, Cody, the new administration coming in here has made some really big promises, like no crypto tax for U.S. companies and U.S. crypto projects. I've mentioned this, like, what do you see different? Like, first of all, do you think they'll live up to that promise and deliver? And number two, if they deliver, what happens to an Ethereum that's registered in Switzerland, for instance, or a Bitcoin? Is it just taxed from there on out? What do you think?
Sure. And this is, what I've been telling everyone since the election. Yes, it's great. We have friends in high places. We have the first ever pro-crypto president. We're going to make America the crypto capital of the world. But now comes the hard work. The work is not done. Yes, we'll take a victory lap and that's great, but now we got to get back to work where we got to roll up our sleeves. Expectations are sky high and we got to execute. So what does that look like? Yes, there are some things that the president can do through executive order. And a lot of the issues we've dealt with for so long, like at the SEC or the CFTC, enforcement actions coming at us have been about personnel. And we're going to get new personnel in there, which I know we'll talk about, that'll be more friendly to our industry. That'll solve some of the problems. It's still Congress. Congress has to pass all of those laws like taxation. The power of the purse and taxation is delegated in the Constitution to Congress. Passing laws is still tough. And so I think tax will be something that Congress addresses right out of the gate. A lot of the tax cuts from the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act are expiring. A lot of those provisions are expiring the end of next year. Everyone in Congress will be focused on tax in the first 100 days. And I think we'll see a lot of those provisions, as you mentioned, related to taxation of crypto in those bills that they're considering. What does that look like if we change the taxation of Bitcoin? We'd say it's not a property anymore. It's not capital gains tax. Can we do that? Are there people willing to do that? I think the answer is yes. It's just really, really hard to pass legislation. And so we're going to be up there every single day, beating the drum, trying to go with a wish list of like, hey, here are the different tax properties we want to change. Here are the different token designation issues we want to change. Here are the market structure stuff, stablecoin. We've got our wish list ready. We've got folks now for the first time who are willing to listen and say, okay, help me help you. And I'm hopeful that we can pass some of this stuff early in 2025.
And, to build on what you're talking about here, we've seen recent appointments so far, like U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Bessent.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is freedom. Crypto's freedom. I mean, it's like this is our new U.S. treasurer to be. This is unbelievable what we're seeing here. Then we see the appointment of Paul Atkins, an 8-year SEC chairman, back under Bush, right? And I've heard this guy and covered him multiple times on the channel here, and he absolutely understands this technology. So from the Digital Chamber's perspective, just talk about those two appointments if you could.
Personnel is policy. It changes everything, having a Bessent, having an Atkins in a place that will really dictate where this technology goes. I feel like for so long, so many of the issues that have come out of digital asset regulation in the US have been these roadblocks that Treasury, SEC, CFTC, IRS, all the three-letter agencies, they've put up these roadblocks, as I mentioned, because they don't want to act. They're scared of the technology. And that's where we've been for so long. Now we've got a Paul Atkins going into SEC. Paul Atkins, who you need to have on the show, by the way. We got to make that happen.
We got to make that happen. Yeah.
Incumbent Chairman Atkins sits on the Digital Chamber's Board of Advisors. He helped start our capital markets working group, our token alliance. He gets it. He gets it. He wants to work with industry and not be a roadblock. He wants to make sure that we can open doors for this technology to flourish. Those SEC enforcement actions that we've talked about, there's not going to be a regulation by enforcement posture first at the SEC any longer. I can promise you that. At Treasury, having a Scott Bessent who's going to say, hey, Bitcoin is freedom. This technology is freedom. We're not going to ignore it. We're not going to pretend it doesn't exist. We're going to find ways to embrace it, find ways to make sure that, yes, Bitcoin is not a competitor to the US financial system. It is not a threat to US financial stability. We're going to promote policies that incorporate this technology into the financial fabrics of the economy. That's incredible. That is unheard of for the last, if you told me that 6 months ago, I would have said you're a crazy person.
Exactly.
Now we've got these people who are saying, let's embrace this and adopt it and lead. We're not going to ignore it. We're going to lead. We are set up for such success. But as I mentioned earlier, now we got to execute. We have to help those people. Every single person listening to us needs to reach out to their members of Congress, reach out to the administration, help them, tell them why this is important to you, tell them the use cases, tell them the problems. They can't solve the problems if they don't know it. And I know these folks understand a lot of the problems, but more problems will come up every day. If you want those solved, you got to reach out and make your voice heard. And that's what we're going to continue doing in Washington.
No doubt. And I want you to know that this channel is an extension of the Digital Chamber. We'll deliver any message you need to. I mean, that is absolutely paramount.
And you've been awesome doing that. And we really appreciate it because that's the most important part of this. Yes, we can go up and we've built relationships with these folks and and they trust us. And so we're able to communicate, but we're only able to communicate the messages we hear from your listeners, your viewers. Like that's where we're getting this from. If I go up there and I'm like, hey, myself, Cody Carbone or Perry Ann Boring, we think X. Yeah, that does something because we know those people, but it's like, no, we think X because we just heard from 100,000 people in America that they're having an issue with this, that they're having issues, with their digital assets, or they feel like they can't list a token here, or they feel like they can't issue a token here. Those stories are what moves policy. And that's why we got to keep hearing from the folks to honestly make policy success going forward.
No doubt. Well said. And then we have some other appointments. We're still waiting for them to fall, Cody. And I'll let you dance around this however you need to. But, we see that Perry Ann Boring has been shortlisted for CFTC chairman. Speak on that.
All I can say right now is as we are hearing these rumors, that there's always when there's smoke, there's fire. And I can say as someone who works very closely with Perry Ann and knows her well, like I know you do, it's hard to find genuine people
Yeah.
in politics and in DC and in policy. And she is one of the good ones. And if it is going to come true and she is going to be nominated, I know it would be a great honor for her. It'd be a great honor to the perseverance she's had over 10 years and the work she's done at the Digital Chamber. And I personally can't think of anyone better who could sit in that role and serve in that role. I think she would be fantastic. But I know there's a lot of things that have to come to fruition. There's no news that is, true and that we can hold it to be true until we hear it from the president-elect himself. So I'm sitting here waiting, just like you, to learn more and to hear more. But I wish her the best of luck, and I think she would be fantastic in that role if she is given the opportunity to serve.
There's no question, and obviously we can't speak any further than that. But what I'd say is, I publicly put my support behind Perry Ann. I think she would do an amazing job. I think the digital chamber is the perfect resume for anybody that moves into a seat like that, representing the entire crypto space the way that she's done. She would serve and be in an amazing role there. So if that's something she wants, I absolutely throw my support behind her. So let's talk about the other seat that's still open, Cody. It's the crypto czar seat.
Yeah.
And Shortlist has got Giancarlo on that seat, and I just think he would be amazing in that seat, just as Perry Ann would be at the CFTC.
It's almost like we could just rewind this and I talk about genuine people
Yeah,
being in positions of power is rare. Chris is another genuine
he
person who
sure
is
is.
just got an incredible resume. He gets this. He's crypto dad. He's
Yeah,
wrote in the book on crypto regulation. You want people that understand this technology to be in those positions,
yeah,
not folks who have just, kind of danced around it or they've talked a little bit about it. Folks who have really rolled up their sleeves. They've talked to the masses like Chris has, talked to the people who are developing this technology, who are experimenting with this technology. He gets it. If it is Chris, he would be incredible in the role.
he
Uh,
really would.
if he wants it,
Yeah.
of course, if he wants it. But I am very optimistic seeing the other appointments that we've already talked about, like Treasury, SEC, and the likes, that whoever the president-elect picks to be the crypto czar will do a fantastic job. I believe they'll have that resume where they really get it and they understand it, and they'll be willing to listen to the public, willing to engage with the private sector. That's rare. That's been rare for this administration, where it feels like it's an echo chamber where the government is only talking to the government and they're not actually talking to the people and they're not talking to the private sector. That will change, I believe, under this administration. So whoever is the crypto czar, I'm just happy we're talking about that. I'm happy like we're even the crypto czar is a thing. I hope it comes to fruition, and Chris would be fantastic. But whoever gets it, I'm gonna be very optimistic.
I feel the same way. I throw my support behind Chris. Should it be a role he wants to take on, he would be great. And you said something I just think is amazing, and I want to highlight it. It is super special when people that are being on shortlisted for roles like this, because we do know that they are genuine. You know what I mean? They are genuine people, and it's like, hey, I know them. They're not just somebody you read about. It's like, no, I actually know these people, and they would be amazing in this role. So I really hope if either one of them want the role, that they're able to get it and serve, because it would do this entire space a service that we have never even witnessed at this point. So speaking of that, Cody, let's talk about looking ahead. Now, I know that there's a 100-day plan. As soon as the inauguration happens, there's going to be a lot of changes. Is there anything you could point to, or anything that you're hearing about the rollout of crypto, potential legislation in 25? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think stablecoin legislation will go first. I think that's the low-hanging fruit. It seems to be that there's the most consensus, like, hey, we need a US regulatory stablecoin framework. We've been saying this for several years now. Members of Congress seem very close to getting something done. So I'm hopeful we'll see that as part of the 100-day plan, and I'm optimistic we will, talking to folks on Capitol Hill. I think, we talked about taxes a lot. That's going to be the focus. With Republicans having unified control of Congress, they're going to want to move something that's very wonky and procedural called a budget reconciliation package. It is a package that won't be policy specific, but any provision that impacts the US debt, revenue, or spending can move under this wonky procedural move with only Republican votes, which is rare.
Yeah.
So I think they'll focus on that. So you'll likely see focus on tax, any spending provisions again, funding the government. That will be the first 100 days. I'm hoping that we can put some crypto policies in that. And we've already been talking to leaders on Capitol Hill, whether it's the Speaker's office or the majority whip and majority leader, or in the majority leader in the US Senate. We've been talking about how they can prioritize the crypto industry and make sure they're heard in these early 100-day moves. And then you got to talk about the White House. I'm expecting the president-elect to come out with some executive orders right out of the gate that impact this industry. We've talked a lot about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It seems to be very popular. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that on January 20th, something established to that effect. Now, there's some constitutional questions of like, what can the president do versus what does Congress have to do? I'm sure they're working that out right now, and there's some very smart lawyers up there working with them to figure out what they can do. But you've got a pro crypto president, which again, like I have to pinch myself every time I say that. A pro crypto president who tweeted this morning, or Truth Social this morning, we've got congrats to the Bitcoiners at 100,000, who's talking about when they nominate an SEC chairman, mentioning the digital chamber's name, mentioning that digital assets is why, his opinion on digital assets is why they're getting picked. That's incredible. So I think everything's on the table. If you've got a policy, again, like I can't stress this enough. If you've got something like, hey, this is a problem that we need Congress to solve or we need the administration to solve, you now have people that are willing to listen. Bring it to me, bring it to them directly. You've got an open door policy. You're no longer going to be shunned out of Capitol Hill or out of the White House. Crypto is a favorable industry now in DC. It is our time to execute. It is our time to get those policies in front of them and give them everything they need to pass them. Man, January 20th, starting then, even earlier in January with the new Congress, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a wild ride, and we got to move quickly.
Oh man, and I know you guys have already hit the ground running. I could just tell. I could hear
So
the excitement in your
I know.
voice.
Like I've got my whole team here in DC this week. Got 20 people, heads down, figuring out what can we do, what is our wish list,
Yeah.
and how can we empower the members of Congress, the administration, to get it done for us. We're going to move quick.
Oh, super exciting. Now, speaking of quick, not too long from now, you're going to have a conference coming up, DC Blockchain Conference in March, I believe. Tell people about that. They need to get their tickets.
Get your tickets now because early bird tickets are ending very, very shortly. I believe December 15th is the last day for early bird tickets. This is going to be the first digital asset and blockchain policy conference of this new administration. If you want to hear directly from those congressional leaders, the industry leaders and CEOs, the new administration itself, come to DC March 26th. We've got dcblockchainsummit.com. Get your ticket. We're going to have an awesome list of speakers. I'm telling you, Brad, for the first time, we've got members of Congress calling us, how can I get on stage? There's such an interest and enthusiasm. We've been selling more tickets now than we ever have in the 8 years that we've been doing this. This is going to be the first conference where you can hear directly from that new admin, from those new members of the 119th Congress. I hope everyone can join us. It's just a good time. I know you were there speaking last year. I hope to have you there again this year.
Let's do it.
Always fun to have you on stage. It's going to be fun. It's always fun to come to DC. It's also going to be the cherry blossom season in DC. So bring the whole family. We're going to do some like monument tours, some Capitol tours. Come down, get your tickets, dcblockchainsummit.com. We hope everyone out there can come.
I can tell you just personal experience for anybody curious. It is a don't miss event. It is a remarkable event. No one has the access to Capitol Hill and the kind of people that you're able to pull to a conference the way that you all do. It is absolutely a remarkable experience. And like you said, with this new administration, it's going to be mind-blowing. Now, one more conference coming up we got to talk about. First of all, Bitcoin Vegas is on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of May 27th, 28th, 29th. And on May 30th, May 31st is XRP Las Vegas. Are we going to see you on stage at XRP Las Vegas? It's done.
I had a blast last year. That was awesome.
Dude,
I
loved crushed it, man. People went crazy.
I was on there with James, met a lawman. I was there with John Deaton on stage. It was a blast. It's one of the best conferences I've been to. The community that you've built and the XRP family has built is truly incredible. We talked about, I feel like the theme of this podcast has been genuine people.
Yeah.
Like you have built a genuine community where I have a blast getting to get to know folks, getting to talk to them on stage directly, getting to talk to them off stage. I wouldn't miss it for the world. I will definitely be there if you'll have me back. I would love to.
Man, put it in stone. That's happening, Cody. Your panel was on fire, dude. And, hopefully, depending on whether the CFTC role gets filled by Perry Ann or not, maybe we could get her there, maybe not. I don't know, but it would be amazing to have her there as well. But what I will say is that specifically that panel was remarkable. I mean, I just sitting back listening to you guys talk about all the current state legal status of everything. This is why I tell people these events are so critical, because we're social creatures by nature. But when you come and sit in a room and really are a part of that conversation, there's just nothing like it. There's just nothing like it, man. So
And just to have those candid conversations, it's rare, and getting everyone in an intimate environment where it feels like you're just talking to your friends. That's what I love. I love those types of environments. I wouldn't miss your conference for the world. I honestly, if anyone's listening to this, be like, oh, I've been on the fence about going. I highly recommend it. You should go. And again, I'll be there. And I would love to talk to everyone there as well.
Oh, Cody, thank you so much, man. And get that ticket to the DC Blockchain Conference. Yeah. It's going to be out of sight, no doubt. Cody Carbone from the Digital Chamber, thank you for all you and everyone at the Chamber does. You're amazing, my friend. Don't go away. We'll catch you on the next one.